Hello and welcome back to my channel. This time we're going to look at the Honda Monkey and what a brilliant little piece of design it is and what's unusual about the design of it. There's a process to designing things, regardless of what that is. Before you even start putting pen to paper, you have to work out exactly what it is you're aiming to do. One of the very first tasks is to get together a mood board. In this you'll have things that inspire you, themes. It doesn't necessarily have to be just bikes, it could be absolutely anything. The idea is to capture an overall look and feel for what direction you're going to go in. So it's with these things you stay quite wide and open and then you gradually narrow down on the stuff that seems to click. Let's say for example you were going to do a sports bike. So your mood board for a sports bike would involve predatory animals, things like sharks and big cats, fighter jets, classic sports cars, anything you could find that related to performance, style, speed, power. You would even pick what like colour palettes. Obviously red is a very obvious one for sports things. There's psychological reasons for that. And then you create these overall mood boards that are just lightly themed on possible directions you want to go in. Elements of these mood boards will make it into the final design. So one of the classics is if you look on the side of sports bikes, they have vents on them to let the air flow through the fairing, and they're always made to look like the gills on a shark. The headlights on sports bikes are always made to look like a forward-facing predator, stern, angry. From the front it's meant to look like something's chasing you down. As human beings we have a number of common themes: predatory animals, strength, athleticism, power, speed. They all evoke the same feelings in us regardless of the culture. So when you're designing something like a bike, you try to capture the overall cultural feeling and put it in what you're making. You would never make a sports bike to look comfy, inviting, friendly, happy, these sorts of themes, would you? There's a certain aggressive, powerful element you'd want to put into the design of a sports bike. It's the same for adventure bikes too. If you're doing an adventure bike, you would create a mood board that was themed on expeditionary vehicles, military vehicles, that sort of tough, rugged, strong. Aerodynamics are not as important. You're more into strength, off-roading, danger, expeditions, and with that come a series of shapes, a series of colours, a series of themes and styles that carry through all of that. So you'd collect that in a mood board and you'd put that in an adventure bike. And this goes common across everything. So whatever bike you're designing, whatever you actually design, you create mood boards and themes first, and then you gradually narrow it down and then develop those into drawings, and that's how you start designing something. We also as humans have a tendency to anthropomorphize everything. So we put in human characteristics into everything we make because we know that appeals to other humans. So the bikes will have two headlights because that represents eyes. One of the most common ones is if you look at a bike from the top, the fuel tank and handlebars tend to look like the back and shoulders of someone who's very athletic and muscular. We put a lot of muscular forms into bikes, or soft curves, soft sensual curves too. There's always a sexual element to design when you're trying to make it mass appeal. Some things with design, like for example an SUV, will lean into the more muscular, masculine themes, and other things like a Ferrari will lean into softer, more sensual themes. And this is because you're making something you want to appeal to everyone on the planet. You have to bore down to those core feelings and senses, most of which are unexplainable to most people, in order to make something appealing. Now that's what makes the Honda Monkey so interesting. Everyone else goes down the roads of power, performance, rugged, strength, tradition, all these common themes. You can see it in a lot of vehicles, a lot of different things. They'll go for that masculine, muscular, edgy, tough kind of themes with bold shapes and squared off edges and angles. There's other things like say for example, a Porsche will go for soft, sensual shapes, the curves of a woman, things like that. With the Monkey, Honda done something really original and really fun, and that's what makes it such an interesting piece of design to look at. Instead of these adult themes, Honda have looked at things like fun, toys, engaging, approachable, colourful, infant, childlike, all these themes that are still mass appeal. We all grew up with toys, so we know the feel and the shape and the colours of toys, so it's a general mass appeal thing. But Honda completely moved away from the strength, sensual, all these performance ones, and went for something that appealed deep to our childlike nature. Everyone has this. This is why a certain TV ad will use cartoon characters, because a cartoon character appeals to that child. Everyone loves cartoons, everyone grew up with cartoon characters, so advertising agencies know if they use that, it'll soften the message and make them more approachable. It's why you'll see a huge multinational chemical conglomerate with a cartoon baby on it. There's something else in the design too with the Honda Monkey that's really lovely. It's got a sense of humour as well. I think a lot of people, when they design things, especially for large corporations, it's driven by a lot of suits, so there's not a lot of humour in it. But when Honda were doing this, and bear in mind this is a company that makes a Fireblade, there's a huge amount of humour in this bike as well, which is really lovely and endearing. So when you talk about anthropomorphization, and designers will put in things like muscular forms, athletic, angry frowning eyes, all these things to denote beauty or performance, Honda ignored all of that. And in their anthropomorphization, they looked at puppies, babies, toddlers, everything that's childlike and fun. They've even, so I mentioned they carry the anthropomorphization through in design. They've even carried it through in this bike. It has the proportions of a toddler or a puppy, which is absolutely brilliant. It's such a clever piece of design, because the moment you do that, even people who aren't into bikes are drawn to it, because we all have that adult caring nature for children, for things like puppies and kittens and small mammals and things like that. Now, some of these features that you would normally get would be shortened limbs, really big eyes, disproportionate body shape, that sort of toddler body shape. Puppies have the same thing. They've got the big paws, the tiny legs, the big ears, the big eyes, and Honda have done a fantastic job of actually capturing that in the design of a motorcycle, so it's extraordinarily clever. So if you could imagine, instead of motorcycles being designed and built using engineering and manufacturing, imagine motorcycles were born and then grew up to be Goldwings. The Honda Monkey is exactly what you would get if you gave birth to motorcycles and it was about 2 years old, and then if it ate all its spinach, it would eventually grow up to be a Goldwing. That's proportionally and stylistically exactly what they've captured on this bike, and they've done it so well. If you could imagine the life of a Honda, it's born, it becomes a monkey when it goes to nursery. When it hits its 20s and it's a little bit leery, it's a Fireblade. And then when it gets to middle age, it becomes a Goldwing. That's what the Honda Monkey feels like. It feels like the baby Honda, which is wonderful to get from a large corporation that would normally be quite soulless and have no sense of humour about these things. There's a lot of toy elements in this as well. This is a theme they've kept closely to, because we all grow up with toys, and babies have this thing of being drawn to toys, and they've made a motorcycle that makes you just want to go and pick it up and play with it. It looks like you could lift it by the seat and pretend to drive it around your lounge. It's got that feel about it. All the proportions are chonky, slightly out, More like when you get a Fisher-Price interpretation of a truck versus the actual proportions of a truck. Some elements are scaled down, some elements are scaled up, much like a puppy or a baby. So the monkey sells you in its shapes of like a toy truck, like maybe a toy army truck, where it's soft, it's inviting, it's approachable, but it's not got anything, there's not a single aggressive part on it. Every single part of it is rounded. It looks like a baby could pick it up and chew on it and not injure themselves, which is something that's designed into all toys, and they've captured that in this bike. There's no sharp edges, there's nothing aggressive or dangerous. It looks like it just wants a cuddle. The colour choices too exemplify this. If you look at them, they've picked the same colours as you would normally get toys in as well. I've picked the yellow one here because it immediately reminded me of Tonka trucks. If Tonka made this as a toy, you wouldn't be surprised. And having it in yellow just sells you on that Tonka toy thing. The big chunky wheels, the bright yellow, the oversized parts, the apparent invincibility of it. It looks like you could throw it down the stairs and it would be fine, or hit your sister on the back of the head with it. So it has very much a Tonka quality to it. The finishes on the materials as well, if you look at the plastic, they're that sort of matte, strong plastic that toys are made out of. The seat is very chunky, it's plush, it's oversized, it's like a big cushion. Following the themes of oversized elements, the tyres are all a bit big and chunky for the shape of it, which is lovely. It gives that toddler feel. They've kept a full-size headlight, so babies always have oversized eyes, and they've captured that with the giant headlight. And the rear lights as well are chunky. They look like a baby could chew on them and not do itself an injury. Very much, especially with the shiny finish, very much do they look like a toy for a toddler. The stubby mud guards, especially in this one with the chrome, just completely sell it on being a toy. I don't know how even practical they would be. They're just got that chunky, oversized element to them to sell you on the toy thing. It's still unmistakably Honda too. If you look at the heat shield on the exhaust, it's still got those 3 cutouts, which is very much a Honda trademark. They put that on everything. If you just take the time to look at it, it's so funny how it avoids all the usual tropes of motorcycling. Power, performance, rebellion. Instead, it just completely ignores that and goes, hey, do you remember when you used to have a Tonka toy? We've made a motorbike to activate those memories for you. Don't take it serious. You're not going to commute across Europe on it. I just want you to look at it and just think of when you were 5 years old playing in a sandpit, and that's exactly the memories they're looking to evoke with this design. And those memories, those feelings of toys and bright colours and summers and sandpits are exactly where Honda have aimed this, because they know every child on earth is going to have those same feelings, and they're going to carry them into adulthood, and then they're going to forget about them because they're paying the mortgage or dealing with other boring adult crap, and then they'll see one of these and it'll just all come flooding back. And that's what's so clever about the design here. A lot of people always think that good design is in the flashy Ducati and things like that, and Ducatis and Porsches and Ferraris, these are great design, but really good design is able to capture your attention, evoke memories, make you feel certain things, and in every way this bike does that, just in a different way. And to do it in such an original way is so very clever and has to be appreciated. This is one of the things I love about motorcycle design. The originality, the charm, the character, the Honda sense of humour in it as well. All of that in here is just adorable. And that's why I think the Monkey will just go on forever. People just adore it, and with good reason to adore it. It's essentially a toy for grown-ups. It's not meant to inflame passions like a Ducati or an MV Agusta. It's meant to take you right back to your childhood the moment you look at it. The moment you sit on it, the moment you just are around it, it will bring back all those memories of being a child. And that's such a successful design to do that, and that's why it's so loved. A few things I like about it. First of all, the ergonomics. I don't know how some bike manufacturers can make a large motorcycle and it doesn't fit a taller person or a shorter person. I've sat on a huge variety of bikes and at 6'5", you'd be astonished that you can sit on a really big bike and be completely uncomfortable. But you can sit on this and it's got brilliant ergonomics and you can ride it just fine. It's testament to that sensible Honda nature they're able to do that, but anyone can get on and off this bike and fit it and ride it, which is absolutely astonishing, and other manufacturers could learn from the comfort of such a tiny bike. I love the sense of humour in it. I think we live in a world without a sense of humour these days, so for a large corporation, which is normally, people have very negative connotations of large corporations, to do something with so much humour and charm is really wonderful. I wish more people would do this. There's some corporations are so concerned with image and appear in a certain way that it's just soulless, and with this bike, Honda show that there's people that work there that have a great sense of humour and a proper soul and a love for what they're doing. I couldn't imagine Google doing something this crazy or silly. It's silly nonsense. There's not really a place for this motorcycle outside nostalgia and fun, and a lot of companies just would not conceive of doing that. In terms of negatives, there's not really much negative here. It's an outstanding piece of successful design. If I was to change anything on it, I think the swing arm is a little too thin. I'd like to see that a little bit chunkier and thicker just to offset the look of the bike. It doesn't really matter, but I just think aesthetically that would make a huge difference. I think they look fantastic with an aftermarket Yoshi exhaust. I just think that looks so cool, but even with the standard exhaust they look good. The only other real negative, and this isn't Honda's fault, is the ridiculous bit of plastic on the back that extends beyond the mudguard for the number plate, and for legal reasons I expect her to put it on it. If you just ignore that and took it off, it would look so much better, but I completely understand why they have to put it on. A cheeky tail tidy would sort that right out. But otherwise, as a piece of design, it completely holds its own in what it sets out to do. It's completely successful in what it's doing, and it puts many large bikes that cost a lot more money to shame in terms of clever design and the emotions that it can bring out of you. So well done, Honda. It's absolutely outstanding, and I would love one. Anyway, that's my review of the Honda Monkey. Thank you so much for listening, and see you next time. Bye bye.